Kevin Williamson of Scream fame has written us a new horror movie, Sick, that just dropped on Peacock. There are definite elements of Scream mixed with the current horrors of the pandemic. And considering this went straight to streaming, is it worth the watch? Due to the pandemic, Parker and her best friend decide to take quarantine at the family lake house alone, or so they think. So the movie takes place in April of 2020, right when quarantines and lockdowns were swinging into full effect. Now, I wasn't sure if I wanted to sit through yet another pandemic-themed horror that uses minimal sets and actors and then just reminds us of the crap show that was 2020. But Sick, it starts out with a scene that's very reminiscent of Scream, and it's an exciting and even creepy way to begin the story. We're not given much context for why the events are happening, but within the first 10 minutes of the movie, there is a gnarly scene, and it sets the stage for what to expect moving forward. There are two college friends, Parker and Mary, who are going to Parker's dad's vacation home for quarantine. It's out in the mountains, isolated, and on a lake, so it's the perfect setting for a horror movie, right? As the girls are there at the house, we see some creepy imagery in the backgrounds and shadows. But at first, it's hard to tell if what is visible is really just shadows or it's something more. And there are some jump scares throughout the movie, but most of the time, they're very situational, and they come about as a result of the tension, rather than stupid and cheap scares where the music swells and then something pops out of nowhere. Now, pretty much everything we watch in this movie takes place over the course of one night, so the compressed timeline adds a ton of suspenseful and terrifying urgency to the story and pace. And once this begins, while it may take slight breathers here and there, the tension never subsides, keeping us on our toes the whole time. Now, in addition to the isolated setting and then the compressed timeline, the other thing this movie has going for it is its length. It's just under 90 minutes, so the thrills and chills, they're piled on in an efficient manner to raise our blood pressure and then keep it up all the way through. Now, I really like that the characters are smart in this. I mean, they may make a few somewhat dumb decisions, but it's not like they just hear a noise and say, hey, let's go out to the dark woods and explore what could have made that ominous sound. And instead, some of the less smart moves that just come about because of stress and terror, meaning their actions are understandable given the torment they're in. They make a decision that appears to be smart in the moment, but it doesn't necessarily turn out to be awesome in the long run. Now, when the reveal begins to be shown to us, the story arcs are kind of a twist on what reality has shown us. There's a certain believability to some of the actions, or at least the mindsets, but I think if we were looking at this from a truth-based situation rather than an entertainment movie, the perpetrators would have been completely different in ideals and actions. Now, I'm purposely being vague because I really enjoyed the ride of the film, and I don't want to ruin it for you. Now, I'm impressed with the level of violence that we see, especially given how few characters are actually in the movie. And this is a great slasher. The camera does not shy away from showing us the gore, and then it doesn't flinch when bad things happen. Like if a cut is being made or some stabby actions are being carried out, they're shown in full detail. Or maybe somebody takes a tumble. I mean, yeah, it is painful to watch and it made me wince, which made it all the more fun to experience because the visuals were visceral and raw. Now, I really enjoyed the cast in this, especially with the two lead actresses who are outstanding. Now, Gideon Adlin, who plays Parker, she is the standout. But there's this heroic moment in this from a character that I didn't expect to see a heroic moment from. I also appreciate that there's some doubt that's placed within the setups. Some of it feels like it would be way too obvious for it to be real, but I certainly did get a feeling on one character simply because of how some dialogue plays out. But with that being said, I love that there were surprises sprinkled throughout, which kept me on my toes and kept the story as a whole exciting and engaging. I never really got the opportunity to relax while I was watching, and I loved that feeling. Now, I watched this with my wife, and it was fun to watch her watch this because she was fully invested in the tension. I mean, she's yelling at the characters on the screen, just willing them to hear her and then be saved. Now, anytime a movie can get the audience to react to what's happening on the screen, especially in an audible way, I think it's a sign of a very captivating story. And this one delivers. Now, the guy that directed this movie, John Hyams, he also directed some of the episodes from that crazy zombie show Black Summer. Now, regardless of how you feel about that show, the action was intense. And the same applies with Sick. He keeps the pressure on and gets the camera right into the spots with the characters so that we feel their panic and their fear. And then we can experience some of that terror right along with them. Now, I think overall, Sick is a great slasher film that's very entertaining for a one-time watch. Now knowing how it all plays out, the mystery of the unknown is gone. And even though this is written by Kevin Williamson and the movie shares some feels with Scream, Sick isn't on that level as far as a classic horror movie goes. I mean, yeah, it's fun, freaky, adrenaline-filled, and even terrifying at times. But once you've seen it, you've seen it. That's not a bad thing because this is definitely worth the watch. There's no sex or nudity, a ton of profanity, and a lot of absolutely brutal violence. I give Sick 4 out of 5 couches. So have you seen any other good horrors lately? Last few I saw, they just did not work for me. So I'm really hoping to find out something just new and fun. Let me know though in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.